If you could walk into an ancient human camp 30,000 years ago, something would feel wrong. Not dangerous, wrong. Most of the camp would be children. Children chasing each other around the fire, sitting beside adults and watching them work. Young parents carrying babies. The camp would feel young, much younger than any town or city you're familiar with today. And that seems to make sense. After all, you've probably heard the statistic before. Ancient humans died before 30. Sometimes the number is 25, sometimes it's 30. Either way, the message is always the same. Life was short, brutally short. It sounds like ancient humans, but here's the strange thing. That statistic is both true and incredibly misleading. And to understand why, you first have to understand Imagine you're an ancient human. You wake up just before sunrise. The fire is still glowing from the night before. The people around you are beginning to stir, and immediately your day revolves around a single problem: survival. Food has to be found, water has to be collected, children have to be protected. The weather has to be watched. The next few days matter just as much as today, because there is no warehouse full of supplies waiting for you. Everything depends on what your group can find, gather, hunt, and carry. And every single part of that process comes with risk. Let's start with something simple: a minor injury. Today, if you accidentally nick your hand while preparing a meal, it's a nuisance. A week later, you've forgotten it ever happened. 30,000 years ago, a minor injury could begin a countdown. The area shows signs of irritation. The condition progresses, you develop a high temperature. The cause is unknown. The internal changes are a mystery. The people around you can keep you warm. They can bring you water. They can hope. That's about it. Today, we think of antibiotics as normal. For almost all of human history, they didn't exist. And without them, infections killed enormously. Then there was food. Imagine a hunt fails. That's disappointing. Imagine the next hunt fails too. Now people are worried. A third failure starts changing the mood of the entire camp. Children need to eat. Adults need energy. Nobody knows when the next opportunity will come. Even successful hunts were dangerous. The animals ancient humans hunted were not passive targets. A wounded deer can kick. A boar can gore. A large animal can seriously injure the people hunting it. Many ancient skeletons show evidence of life was dangerous enough that surviving into old age was an achievement in itself. But danger didn't just come from inside the body. It came from the tree line, from the tall grass, from the darkness beyond the fire. For most of human history, humans were not at the top of the food chain. The same species that would eventually build cities, develop medicine, and walk on the moon spent hundreds of thousands of years being hunted. Lions, leopards, hyenas, wolves, crocodiles. All of them preyed on humans at various points in history. There's a theory that our instinctive fear of snakes, spiders, and darkness isn't random. It's a memory. The things that make you flinch today may be echoes of genuine survival threats your ancestors faced every single night.
And then there was something everyone understood: childbirth. Today, it's usually treated as a joyful event.
For most of human history, it was also one of the most dangerous. A difficult birth could kill the baby. It could kill the mother, sometimes both. The human brain became so large that childbirth turned into one of the riskiest moments in human life. By this point, the statistics start sounding pretty believable. Ancient humans died before 30. With everything trying to kill them, it certainly sounds plausible. Maybe hardly anyone reached middle age. Maybe old people were rare. Maybe ancient camps really were filled entirely with young adults and children. However, the narrative shifts unexpectedly. Contrary to common belief, ancient humans did not cease to exist upon reaching the age of 30.
In fact, if you survived childhood, reaching 50 or 60 wasn't unusual at all. Let's imagine a village with 10 children.
5 die before reaching their second birthday. The other 5 live to 60. What's the average lifespan? 31 years. But nobody actually died at 31. Half died as toddlers, half became old people. The average tells a true story.
Just not the story most people imagine. This is the trap hidden inside ancient life expectancy numbers. When researchers estimate average lifespan, they include everyone, including children. And for most of human history, childhood was incredibly dangerous. That's the part many people miss. The real reason ancient life expectancy was so low wasn't that adults were constantly dying at 30.
It was that huge numbers of children never reached adulthood. Today, in many countries, more than 99% of children survive their early years.
For most of human history, that would have sounded miraculous. Anthropologists studying traditional populations.
In some cases, a third of children died before adulthood. In others, nearly half. Think back to your school class. 30 children sitting in a room.
Now erase 15 of them. Not because they moved away, not because they changed schools, because they didn't survive. That's what childhood looked like for much of human history. That was the reality many families lived with. Parents knew it. Communities knew it. And yet life continued. People still laughed. They still fell in love. They still planned for the future. Human beings are remarkably adaptable, even when surrounded by uncertainty. Now suppose you survived childhood. You made it through. Something shifted. Your immune system gained experience. You learned which mistakes were dangerous. You learned where food could be found. The odds were no longer stacked against you in quite the same way. And that's why ancient humans regularly reached ages that surprised modern people. Archaeologists have discovered prehistoric skeletons belonging to individuals who lived into their 50s, 60s, and sometimes beyond.
These weren't mythical exceptions. They were real members of real communities. Old people existed. In fact, they may have been one of humanity's greatest advantages. Imagine a drought. A younger person has never experienced one before. An older person remembers the last one. They know where water can still be found. They know which routes failed. They know which plants became dangerous after heavy rain. They know things that aren't written anywhere, because nothing was written anywhere. No books, no maps, no records. Everything humanity knew existed in one place only: human memory. Which means an elder wasn't just an older person. They were a library, the only library the group had. Lose one of them, and that knowledge was gone forever. That changes how you think about old age entirely. It wasn't a burden ancient societies had to manage. It was one of their most valuable resources. Some scientists believe this may be one reason humans evolved unusually long lifespans. Grandparents helped raise children, which means an elder wasn't just an older person. They were a library, the only library the group had.
And that's something many people overlook when they imagine the ancient world. The picture in our heads is often wrong. We imagine a world where everyone died young, a world where 30 was ancient, a world almost completely lacking elderly people.
The reality was more complicated. Ancient societies contained children, teenagers, young adults.
The difference was the number of people who never got the chance to become old. The tragedy wasn't dying at 30. The tragedy was never reaching 30 in the first place. That's what dragged the average down. Not some biological limit that suddenly caused humans to expire at 30.
Which brings us back to that camp from the beginning. If you walked through it, you probably would notice all the children. The camp would feel young.
But if you stayed there long enough, you'd notice something else. The old faces. The people carrying decades of memories.
The people who had survived countless winters. The people who remembered hunts, droughts, deaths, migrations. They were there too. And their existence reveals the truth hiding behind one of history's most misunderstood statistics.
Ancient humans did not usually die because their bodies wore out at 30. They died because reaching adulthood was incredibly difficult.
In a strange way, this changes how we think about progress. When people talk about civilization, they often point to skyscrapers, airplanes,